these are the principles that you and I are espousing. We have the same principles as the people who founded this country. I titled this stream "White Man Under Siege" because I read a paper referring to this concept of the white man under siege to describe the White Australia policy, the attitudes around it from our political leadership during Federation. And, leftists often portray the White Australia policy as just, oh, Australians just hated other races and they just so that was what the White Australia policy was about. It was about genociding Aboriginals and hating Chinese people just because we just hate them or something, like this kind of irrational hatred. No, that's not how they saw it. If you look at the quotes of political leaders at the time and the kind of literature that was popular at the time, the prevailing view was that the white world would enter into a decline in the 20th century, that this period of white global domination was temporary, and that the yellow races and the other races would rise, that they would get the technology of the white man. They would develop modern advanced societies. The old colonial empires of Europe would fall apart, and the white man would turn into a peer among many different kind of racial groups that are all represented on the world stage, as opposed to the white man dominating the direction of world affairs, which is what the 19th century was like. And that as a result of this, Australia had to maintain a white man's land to secure a position in the world for our people, because we weren't going to get access to the rest of the world. We were going to lose it all. And we weren't going to fight wars of annihilation against these other Asian countries or something to take their countries off them. That we had to hold on to and preserve and protect Australia. And there were a lot of these kind of corporate interests that wanted to fill Australia, and were at the time bringing in cheap labor from what they called Kanakas, which were basically Pacific Islanders, bringing in as cheap slave labor, basically, or really cheap labor for the farming sector. The Chinese were coming in and so on, and they were using them as cheap labor. And that was what these, industrial interests, they didn't consider Australia a real country. They just saw it as a piece of land owned by the British Empire that they could use for commercial benefit. Australia was founded around this idea that no, Australia for the white man, and we need to build a conscious white man's country. In fact, they even feared that Europe and America would one day fall to multiculturalism, multiracialism, miscegenation, and that we needed to preserve a continent, a nation for ourselves, for our people, for our way of life, and that mixing our race with other foreign races would ultimately undermine our capacity to have a society and a civilization that reflected the values of the white man. And that was the essence of what Australia was, the whole project of the country. So what Blair and I represent is this original idea of what Australia fundamentally was, according to all the first prime ministers of the country, all the leading thinkers, and the politics that was popular with the people. Overwhelmingly, they were voting for decade after decade after decade for the first half of this country's existence as a federated commonwealth. That's what we represent, and they want to call us extremists. But yeah, this